Welcome, everyone. Before we begin the meeting, we'll have a prayer by Councilman Hussey, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
We gather here this evening thankful for the sunny weather and good days in Jefferson City. We're thankful for the many blessings that have been bestowed upon our community. We ask that we keep in mind those in need here in Jefferson City, those that do not have the many things that we have. We're thankful for the end of another school year as it quickly approaches. We ask that you be with the students at Lincoln who are taking finals this week and at our schools around the community that are wrapping up the school year. We hope to have a safe summer for our children. We ask for patience and wisdom and guidance this evening in our deliberations, and we hope to do good work for Jefferson City. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll call to order the Monday, May 7th, 2018 City Council meeting. Mrs. Donaldson, roll call, please.
Fitzwater. Here. Graham.
Here.
Hensley.
Here.
Hussey.
Here.
Kimna.
Here.
Mahalovich.
Here.
Prather.
Here.
Schreiber.
Here.
Ward.
Here.
Wiseman.
Present. Item 3, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Also want to take a moment and welcome Councilman Jonathan Hensley. We're glad to have you here and appreciate having you. I know this is your first official meeting from start to finish, so you were here at the last meeting, but we'd want to take a moment to welcome you on board as our newest city councilman, so congratulations and welcome. And also want to take a moment to also welcome, congratulate Councilman Hussey, who is our new pro tem for the year, so glad to have you there and appreciate also your service, Councilman Prather, last year, so appreciate that. Item 4, miscellaneous agenda items. We have a retiree recognition for Kathy Abernathy after 25 years. Kathy, yeah, we want to do a
Thank you, Mayor. I
wonderful.
have a few
And
words. Kathy.
Chief Schrader will make a
here.
presentation.
Yes. It's
And
my privilege and
congratulations.
honor to introduce Kathy Abernathy, otherwise known as Abby to many people.
Is your mic on,
the
Chief?
award, or the it's on.
Oh, it is. Okay.
I know the recognition says 25 years, but she's just short of 26. So she was hired on June 8th in 1992, and then subsequently promoted to a supervisor in August of 1997. So she has over 20 years as a supervisor in our 911 center. I did some quick, simple computation, and I know Kathy wasn't in there every moment, but she certainly was in spirit. And during her tenure with us, I estimate approximately 2.5 million calls for service were received and dispatched during her tenure. So 2.5 million calls for service. Kathy was one of our operators who has a degree in criminal justice administration. She got that from Old Dominion University. And if I tried to summarize and repeat all the acronyms that describe the things in which Kathy was involved. It would take us a long, long time, and I know Kathy would be the first to say, don't do that. So I won't do that. But she is truly a hero in my book, and I'll tell you why. I think we think of patrol officers as the backbone of an organization, and that is true. But I remind our operators that they're the nerve center, and you can't really have a viable, effective operation unless you have both. And when I was a patrol officer and supervisor in the field, and I was at one point in time, and I was, let's say, outnumbered 100 to 1 in the middle of a bar parking lot, it was someone like Kathy that I called for a help. If I'm pursuing somebody on foot down a darkened alley, it was someone like Kathy that I would call. If I'm confronted with someone with a gun unexpectedly, it was Kathy. And we don't, I think, understand all of that. There was an editorial in the newspaper about 5 weeks ago, maybe, that really described our, out of sight, out of mind heroes, and that's what Kathy represents. And certainly the number of weekends and holidays and family birthdays and all those things, those dates on which she had to work were innumerable. But she was here, a valuable, really a critical member of our organization. And I would say that, and I disagree that everybody's replaceable. We can put somebody in her position, and we will, but it will take years before we have someone with her skills, with her expertise and experience. And that's just the fact. That's just the way it is. So she is not replaceable. And I tried to talk her out of retiring for, a couple of years, something like that. Right up until we had a little party for her on April 20. Well, it was a big party because you had a lot of speeches, actually. She didn't know she was that beloved until she retired. It's kind of like when we pass on in this life, then everybody loves us. So Kathy retired, and she had all kinds of friends that were willing to come forward and share some kind words about her on April 27th over at the police department. She got some gifts. Mayor Turgeon presented the key to the city that afternoon, and I think it was I hope it was a nice experience, because she certainly earned retirement. One more little story about who Kathy is. I was talking to her a couple of months ago, just in the hallway, passing, and again, trying to talk her out of retiring. And she said, "No, Chief, I got to go before I get somebody hurt." And that small little statement kind of sums up the character of her. She's not concerned about her retirement or herself. She was concerned about the health and welfare of the people that we serve every single day. It wasn't about her. The retirement wasn't about her. It was her concern, saying, I've done this long enough. It's time for me to retire, to kind of move on. I don't want to make a mistake and get somebody hurt. That's Kathy Abernathy. So I thank you for this recognition on her behalf, and like I said, she'll be missed. She's just a critical component of our organization. Words aren't enough when you have somebody that spent 26 years in that 911 center. They just aren't. So anyway, thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. We appreciate your service. Thank you very much. And Kathy, would you like to come forward and we can do a picture and we can get the council up here? I know there was a nice reception at the police department, but the city council can get a recognition. And thank you for all of your service, all of your years of service to the city. We very much appreciate it. And congratulations and best wishes on your retirement.
I have my heels on, so I will. There we go. I'm the appropriate height now.
Got it.
Congratulations. Thank you very much for your service. And I appreciate it very much. All right, thank you again, Kathy. Item B, we have the Kids to Parks Day proclamation presented to Danny Laskowski and Kelly Thompson, along with their son, Milton. So if you all would like to come to the podium, welcome. Milton, we're so happy to have all of you here. So if you'd like to come to the podium, and I'll start by reading this proclamation, and this is for Kids to Parks Day. So whereas on May 19th, 2018 is the 8th Kids to Parks Day, organized and launched by the National Park Trust and held annually on the third Saturday of May. And whereas Kids to Parks Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit America's parks. And whereas it is important to introduce a new generation to our nation's parks. And whereas we should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle to combat the issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, hypertension. And whereas Kids to Parks Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse group of participants and will broaden children's appreciation for nature and the outdoors. Therefore, I, Carrie Turgeon, Mayor of the City of Jefferson, proclaim May 19th as Kids to Park Day in the City of Jefferson and urge all citizens to make time to take the children in their lives to a neighborhood, state, or national park. So I will present this to you, and if you want to say a few words about your interest in the Kids to Parks Day.
I think we appreciate your receptiveness to this, and appreciate the great parks that are around Jefferson City, and we also just recognize that how important in the research that's continuing to come out to show the importance of kids being in the outdoors and the health benefits. So we appreciate the city recognizing it today.
Well, we're really glad to have you. And Milton, are you excited to go to some parks soon? Yeah. Right now. And we also have Mr. Greffrath is going to tell us a little bit about what's going on in our city parks for this.
Thank you. Currently, staff are working on the various activities that they're going to do in the various parks. That schedule will be released next week on social media as well as our website, and then schedules will also be available to be picked up at the front desk at the link as well. So we're going to try to do various things in the various parks to get people out and active. So we appreciate the opportunity.
Wonderful. Well, we're so glad to have you all here and recognizing Kids to Park Day. So if you'd like to come forward, we'll take a picture, and then we can put that on the social media for next week for parks. Would council like to get behind here again, and we'll do one more? Because Milton needs a picture of all the council members.
I'm filming. Hold on. I can't get my shoe off.
Right across the street.
You're such a
Yeah.
woman. That's good up there taking
Got it.
Item 5, we have no public hearings. Item 6, appointments by the mayor. We do have a list here of the council liaison appointment list. So is there a motion to approve the liaison list?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 7, presentations from staff, consultants, and invited guests. We have none this evening. Item 8, announcements by mayor, council, and staff. You can check out our calendar at jeffersoncitymo.gov for all of our committee meetings. And we have a few other committees on the charter review. Councilman Hussey is going to give us an update.
I sure will. The Charter Review Committee that was established by the council earlier this spring has met 3 times now in April, and they're kind of going through the charter line by line, and I sort of mean that literally. They're taking a very thorough look. Some possible changes have been shared with council. The committee meets again on May 15th at 6 p.m. in the Annex building, lower level in that conference room off of the fire administration offices back there. It'll meet again on May 29th as well. So those meetings are open to the public. You're welcome to attend. Their goal is to still have recommended changes or lack of changes to us by early July on that deadline. So please join in and listen in. There's an opportunity, I think, if council members attend and want to give input to the committee, that's certainly welcome as the committee deliberates potential changes.
Thank you,
And
Councilman Hussey.
I'll announce that the Public Works and Planning Committee has a meeting this Thursday at 7:30 a.m. in the Boone Bancroft meeting room across the hall.
Thank you. And then also, if you'd like to give us an update on yesterday's Porch Fest, I understand you were a committee member.
I can certainly do so. We had the inaugural Porch Fest here in Jefferson City on the 500 and 600 blocks of Capitol Avenue. Closed 2 blocks, had, what we estimate to be about 1,500 of our good friends turn out throughout the day. It was a 3-hour event, 10 porches, 27 different acts. Councilman Kemna opened up his front porch to some musicians. Councilman Hensley was a musician on a porch for an hour. Councilwoman Ward came out and recruited a musician for us to be a part of the day. It was a team effort between Parks and Recreation, provided some strong support, Leanne Perello and Phil Stiles, and then Avenue HQ, Quentin Rice and Holly Stitt really put in a lot of effort with some support from the Cultural Arts Commission as well to give us some seed funding. So it blew expectations for what we thought the event could be. Weather was terrific, had some great food, some great art, just a real good sense of community. So October 7th is the next Porch Fest, same 2 blocks. And maybe Councilman Hensley will sing again.
You've been holding out on us, Councilman Hensley. That's good to know. Well, it was truly an incredible event. Thank you for your work on the committee and all the city groups that really participated, and the council members as well. It was so neat to see Capitol Avenue really come alive with a festival like that. It's kind of been the first of its kind to utilize the new and improved Capitol Avenue, and being able to really get up close to the porches and look at the architecture and appreciate all the details of those beautiful homes, and bringing the art part into it, from the singing and just the visual arts and the painters that were painting the people that were singing. It was really neat to see art combined with history and utilizing Capitol Avenue. So it was a fantastic event. And we also have Councilman Mihaljevic to give us an update on the Thomas Jefferson birthday celebration.
On April 30th, we had a birthday party for Thomas Jefferson, 275th, and had about 100 people in attendance. We had it was sponsored by the Jefferson Bank, the City of Jefferson, Cultural Arts Commission, Historic City of Jefferson, Friends of the Missouri Governor's Mansion, Avenue HQ, News Tribune, Lewis and Clark Task Force, and Schulte's Fine Foods, all pitched in to really make this a seamless event. And I'd say the real success was the fact that we had the schools participate, and we had really good essays and a video, and they were put in the newspaper. So we certainly appreciate the work of the News Tribune and helping advertise it and show those essays. So based on this public interest in the schools, I would recommend that we venture to do that again.
Great. Thank you, Councilman Mihaljevic, for taking the lead on that. And hearing the students read their essays, it was very compelling. I was really impressed. It exceeded my expectations, hearing their wonderful essays and how they approached it. And having Thomas Jefferson there to answer questions on the spot was pretty cool, too. So really a great event that evening. So appreciate that. Any other council announcements? And I'll have my announcements. We had over the weekend on Saturday the police officer memorial, which was in the Governor's Garden this year. It's typically on the grounds of the Capitol, and the Governor's Garden area provided a beautiful setting for the memorial and the police officers' families from all over the state on Saturday. And then also Saturday was Shelby Fest in the downtown area, and actually all around town they had different activities planned throughout the weekend, and having people really from all over the country here in Jefferson City. That was a big event. And also last week I was recognized at the MoDOT Commission meeting for the city's efforts with Buckle Up, Phone Down. So That was quite an honor to receive a recognition from MoDOT, and they will be coming to an upcoming meeting to present MoDOT's policy on buckle up, phone down. They have a great model that I think other communities, other cities, and then individuals can adopt that for their own. So they will be coming to share that. And I also have an award that was a road sign that they kind of cut down to about an 8x10 and presented that. So I'll be sure to share that in an upcoming meeting. And of course, my last announcement is Big and Rich is coming to our cité again on June 30th. You know this, on Saturday, June 30th. SaluteToAmerica.org if you don't have your tickets. And Councilman Hensley, you'll be a natural at this, but here's the deal. When I say, I've already walked you through this. When I say down by the river, you all say, in Jeff City, Mo. We're going to try that just one more time, and everybody can join in. When I say, we woke up by the river, in Jeff City, Mo. Okay, so we have, that's kind of, practice that. I need you to coach maybe some of the others. Come on, Carlos, come on. Did you? All right, it's easy. Jeff City Mo. So yeah, they're coming to our cité on June 30th at the prison. So very excited to have our 3rd annual Inside the Walls concert at the prison. And now, on that note, we'll turn it over to you, Chief Schofield, letter B.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to let everybody know that a few weeks ago, direct mailers went out to businesses and community leaders. Again, we're partnering this year again with the National Fire Safety Council. And we've done this for the past 20 years. And on each one of your desk, I put one of the older coloring books from last year. And you'll see on the back, it has a list of all of the community leaders and businesses that have contributed to this program. All of the funds go directly to materials that are distributed to kids in the community. Whatever leftovers we have, we typically try to distribute to neighboring communities or at the state fair. Sometimes we give them out on tours and things like that. But they go to kids for fire prevention activities, and it's been a very successful program. And we always want to let folks know that when they receive those mailers, if they're not on the list, they can always call us at the Fire Administration headquarters, and we're happy to get them on the list, or they can make a direct donation through us to the National Fire Safety Council. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chief? This is a great program, so if any local businesses or citizens would like to pitch in or contribute, it's worthwhile, so thank you. And also, do you want to mention anything about the new fire safety education unit? I got a sneak peek of that today.
Sure. We have received the trailer. It was also a fundraising campaign, and a lot of local businesses. Two of the most notable were Phillips 66 and the Host Lions Club, were two of our flagship sponsors for that project. It has made one appearance at a Lions Club event, and we hope to be making many, many more. We're still putting some of the finishing touches on it, but it will be a life-size mock-up home that kids walk through. There'll be audio-visual materials in there that talk about a variety of safety things, everything from home safety to fire safety to prescription medications, all sorts of things, even severe weather. So we're really excited to have that in place, and we're, like I said, continue to work on it, develop it. Should roll it out to events this summer for some of our special events, and it'll be in full service this fall for all the school visits.
It's really cool. I think the kids would really respond to it. It's a great educational opportunity, and I know we have some Lions that are here on our council, so we appreciate the Lions Club and other business sponsors for contributing to that. So thank you. Item 9, Lincoln University Student Representative update from Ms. Carolyn Wanjaro.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just a few updates from Lincoln University. As Councilman Hesse mentioned, this week is finals week at Lincoln University, and so everybody is kind of in crunch mode. I had 2 finals today myself. And those are going well. They're going well. School is almost out. The semester is almost done. And some of us are a bit excited because it's been a challenging semester. Other updates, we have a few of our faculty members who are leaving the university, and today they had a farewell party lunch for Dr. Jerome Offord. He is the Dean of Student Affairs and Administration. he is going to be leaving us. We are also having a farewell for interim president Michael Middleton on Friday. And we're also having a farewell party for Miss Rhonda Hopper, who has been in charge of the Marching Storm band. And that's about it. That's about it.
Well, good luck with finals this
Thank
week.
you.
And I know graduation is coming up, too. There's some ceremonies for Lincoln.
Yes. Graduation is May 12th. I believe it starts at about 9:30 in the morning. Yeah, so it's going to be a long and busy day. And so students are excited that it's almost time to move on to the next phase of life. And faculty members too are excited because, 4 years, 5 years in a university is not easy. But when you make it through, it's a pat on your shoulder. You ought to be proud of yourself. And so, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate that update, and certainly Jerome Alford and Mr. Middleton for all of his service. And Rhonda Harper is just outstanding with the band, so she will be missed as well. So thank you for that. Item 10, presentations from the gallery on specific bills or resolutions. We have nobody signed up. Item 11, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12, bills introduced, 2018-05.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Bartlett and West in the amount of $285,521.50 for the Dunklin Street Bridge and Corridor project.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. As the clerk indicated, this is our engineering contract with Bartlett and West, local firm here in town, and actually have Bob Gilbert and Todd Kemper here in the audience. If there's any particular question about the bridge, they might be able to help me answer them. But Dunklin Street Bridge over Wares Creek, it's where the Greenway Trailhead is now currently with a parking lot. And as the clerk indicated, a little over $285,000 contract. It's a half-cent sales tax project, but it's also a city-county project, so we'll be splitting the cost of that and the construction with the county in the future. It was a listed project in our city and county half-cent sales taxes when they were advertised. Include various things besides the bridge. We'll be have elements of the Greenway Trail will be extended through that area, sidewalk, lighting, looking at the signal along Broadway and Dunklin, and so kind of a small corridor there, if you will, of reshaping that. And a small sanitary sewer project as well in that corridor. Design should be completed later this year, and we hope to have it available to bid in 2019 if the funding is available with both the city and county sales tax contracts. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. 2018-06.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to grant a stormwater easement to Scholastic Incorporated over city-owned property at 3025 Robinson Road.
Thank you. And I also wanted to thank Mr. Gilbert and Mr. Kemper for being here on that previous bill. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Mr. Marash?
Yeah, thank you. On this bill, as the clerk indicated, it's an easement to Scholastic on the east end of town. The property is actually, people may know it as where our new fire station will be located, just off McCarty Street and Robinson Road. But basically, as Scholastic was redoing a parking lot, we were talking to them about their water quality issues, and also looking at how we could protect the downstream area from the new fire station construction as well. So Scholastic will be building a basin on the city property to accommodate both sites. They're paying for it. We're allowing an easement for the pipe to go across city property to the basin, so this easement will allow them to maintain that into the future. And be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay. 2018-07.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, designating 1213 Elmering Avenue as a local historic landmark.
Mrs. Abbott?
Thank you very much. Last month, I previously presented information on the landmark designation, which is a process that applicants or homeowners can apply to the city for designation as a landmark. Tonight, there we go. Tonight, before you is 1213 El Marine Avenue. As mentioned, the homeowners, Judy and Kevin, Judy and Kevin Murray are the owners of 1213 El Marine Avenue, had applied for the designation. The property is site of, was also occupied by John Carter Collette, a former Missouri Supreme Court judge and United States federal judge as well. The property is also part of the Morrill Drive National Register Historic District as well. The Historic Preservation reviewed the application on May 1st during their May 1st meeting and approved the property for designation as a landmark. If council approves the property, this property, in addition to 130 East High Street and 720 East High Street, will be presented plaques. The owners will be presented with plaques during the Heritage Week celebration on Tuesday, May 15th, here in the council chambers. Once again, the landmark designation will be, the homeowners will be receiving the plaques during that ceremony, along with Gregory Stockard and art contest winners. So please join us that night. I would greatly appreciate it. And then if anybody has any questions on the landmark designation of 1213 El Marine Avenue, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilwoman Ward?
I do have an amendment to this bill. However, before doing that, I'd like to suspend the rules in light of the awards being next Tuesday, so we can get this taken care of.
Okay. Any objections to the request to suspend the rules? Seeing none, we will suspend the rules and take up the bill. We have sounds like a motion to amend.
There's also a motion to amend. There are two locations in the bill where the Dalton House is referred to. In the section where it starts at whereas, and then in section 1. So if we can strike both of those references.
Okay.
I make that motion.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So we will take up Bill 2018-7 as amended. Any further questions or deliberation?
And in a vote on the motion to amend before we vote on the bill itself.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we will take up the bill as amended. Thank you. Any further deliberation on the bill or questions? Okay. Roll call, please.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward. Aye. Wiseman.
Aye.
Bill passes. 2018-8.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Jefferson Asphalt Company in the amount of $935,209 for the 2018 mill and overlay project.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. As clerk indicated, mill and overlay contract we do every year. The did not have the list of streets in here as contemplated by the Public Works and Planning Committee, but we're going to send that out to everybody and get it back in the packet following this meeting. But basically, as clerk indicated, a little over $935,000 contract. Jefferson Asphalt, local contractor, has done the overlay several years now. Maybe a little confusion. If you were looking at the packet, there's actually a change order in here already. That's to remove some of the striping that was bid in this project. We actually bid that work with both the downtown contract as well as the asphalt was in that one as well. And we're just looking to see how the bids would come in at different contractors. So it's going to end up, we're going to do our downtown project work in this contract, but we're going to do the striping in a different contract. So just a little, we have it straight, but it might be a little confusing if you're reading that closely. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilman Hussey?
Not a question, just a minor amendment. Move to change the bill sponsor from Councilman Henry to myself, since Councilman Henry is no longer on the council.
It's a good plan.
All right. So is there a second to that amendment? Any further discussion on that? All in favor say aye to the amendment.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we'll take up, well, we don't have to, but we'll make that note for that bill as amended for the next meeting. Any further discussion on the bill? Okay, 2018-09.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a preliminary PUD plan for property addressed as 3430 West Edgewood Drive.
Mr. Barron?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This bill would approve a preliminary PUD development plan for property on West Edgewood Drive. The property is located at the intersection of West Edgewood Drive and Wildwood Drive on the northwest corner, is highlighted on the screen. Property is zoned to PUD, planned unit development. The plan is to construct a new VA clinic on the property. The property is owned by the Chamber of Commerce, split, so that it's just the one corner of the property here that's associated with this development plan. The building would consist of a 10,000 square foot clinic. They did incorporate a potential 6,000 square foot expansion at some time in the future, just so they wouldn't have to go through the PUD process again should they actually construct that expansion. The building is a fairly typical design, and so there's a number of these constructed in other cities, and so here's an example of what you can expect to see after construction. A fairly well designed brick building. This PUD development plan was recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission and is scheduled for a public hearing in front of the City Council on May 21st at 6 p.m. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Barron. 2018-110.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri imposing a use tax for general revenue purposes at the rate of 2% for the privilege of storing, using, or consuming within the city any article of tangible personal property pursuant to the authority granted by and subject to the provisions of sections 144.600 through 144.761 RISMO, providing for the use tax to be repealed, reduced, or raised in the same amount as any city sales tax is repealed, reduced, or raised, and providing for submission of the proposal to the qualified voters of the city for their approval at the primary election called and to be held in the city on Tuesday, August 7th, 2018.
Mr. Molman?
Thank you. This ordinance calls an election at the August 7th, 2018 primary election to ask the voters of Jefferson City whether the city will impose a use tax of 2%. Use taxes are imposed on out-of-state purchases that are brought in to the city and are equal to the city sales tax. So that's 2% total, 1% general revenue, 1% capital improvements, or sorry, yes, 0.5% capital improvements, and 0.5% parks. Finance has done calculations on this particular tax. They estimate that, using previous year data from 2014 to 2016, if this tax had been in place during those years, it would have raised annually $1.5 million approximately. This also affects what's called our out-of-state purchase of motor vehicle tax. Currently, state law allows for the city to collect sales tax on out-of-state purchases of vehicles. However, that provision is sunsetting at the end of this year. By approval of a use tax, the city would be able to continue to collect that tax on purchases of out-of-state vehicle. If a use tax or another tax were not approved, then the city would stand to lose approximately $240,000 per year on loss of tax on out-of-state purchased vehicles. The language set forth in the ordinance is largely prescribed by statute, and so follows the form that the statute requires. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Kroll?
Make a clarification that you don't pay both a use tax and a sales tax.
Correct.
It's
It's
one or the other.
one or the other, depending on where the item is paid, or sorry, purchased.
Thank you. Any questions or comments of council? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Molman. And also want to thank Mr. Gary Wilbers for being here this evening. I know you spoke at our last council meeting, and we're here on behalf of some other local business owners, and appreciate you being here again this evening. Thank you, Mr. Wilbers. Councilman Mihaljevic?
Yeah, I think this is a really important decision for our taxpayers, and I trust them to make an informed decision, and I hope that the community will get some information out so everybody knows what they're voting for and the impact it will have on city services. So I do appreciate the leadership stepped forward by Mr. Wilbers and company.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay. 2018-111.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a contract for sale of real estate with the state of Missouri.
Mr. Molman?
Thank you. Step out of my comfort zone a little bit here and be up at the podium just for just make sure I'm clear and everyone can understand what I'm trying to present. But this bill approves a agreement for conveyance of the MSP Missouri State Penitentiary, the portion of that property which was authorized to be granted or to be transferred to the City of Jefferson in the 2017 general session. So essentially what happened is that bill was passed in last year's general session. It went into effect in August of last year, and when it went into effect, that authorized the State of Missouri Office of Administration to begin negotiations with the city to develop this contract. And so city staff and the mayor and Councilman Schreiber have been working with OA to get this document worked out and in front of you for the last few months. So essentially what this agreement does is that it authorizes the state to transfer the MSP property over to the city, and it does so with some terms and conditions that I think it's important that the council be cognizant of. So first of all, purchase price. It's a nominal purchase price of $10. So really, what we're talking about for the consideration for this property is the promises and the transfer of guarantees of what the state would like to see in the development of this property in exchange for the property itself. If you're following along in the development agreement itself, I'd like to highlight Section 17 of the agreement. And what it does, it sets forth a kind of minimum program for development. In 17A, it calls for the real estate to be developed, improved, used, or occupied in purposes that are set forth in 17A. And what this attempts to do is set forth a tiered approach on what would be allowed as far as uses in the MSP area. The first thing we have are what are called primary uses. Primary uses are essentially uses that can stand on their own. They're set forth pretty specifically as including hotels, convention centers, auditoriums, entertainment venues, office buildings, boat landings, marinas, museums, libraries, educational or governmental institutions, and athletic facilities. So those are the facilities that will stand alone, be the anchors of the development. Secondary uses are uses that are meant to complement those primary uses, and there's some interesting kind of design guidelines that go along with secondary uses. First, secondary use must either be integrated into a primary use or alternatively should be grouped in with at least two other secondary uses, so that way we're not having sporadic, spread out development, but really an attempt to direct development, to congregate and concentrate, and really have a more, I think, pedestrian type development as opposed to vehicularly driven. And then finally, supporting uses are standalone but not primary uses, and those include things like parking structures, green spaces, pedestrian plazas, and public utility facilities. There's some exceptions that were worked out that should not be included within development. Traditional fast food restaurants, retail or restaurants with drive-through facilities, residential units other than condominium dwelling units or loft-style apartments, or an enclosed shopping mall. So that's really kind of the minimum program for development. So it's up to when RFPs go out for a developer, they will be given a copy of this, and they know these are kind of the ground rules for proposing a development. So this allows a lot of flexibility, but also sets some real guideposts for development of the MSP area. There is a right of reentry for the state if it were to be developed in a way that is contrary to those that program developed set forth in 17A. That expires after 25 years. It calls for the original MSP master plan to act as a guide for development. If you take a look at 17D, the contract calls for the state of Missouri to have 3 representatives on the MSP Community Partners Committee. There's currently one being the director of OA Facilities Management. It adds the commissioner of administration and the general counsel for administration or their designees to also sit on the MSP committee. And so the ordinance that approves this also makes that necessary change to the MSP Community Partners Group. If you take a look at 17F, the shoe factory is an older building there on site that is within the boundaries. What this agreement calls for is for us to take our best efforts to retain the shoe factory and try to reuse it with a recognition that, you know, once we get in there and take a look at it, that may not be possible, but definitely efforts are called for to try to retain the shoe factory and reuse it as opposed to tearing it down. As far as infrastructure development, this agreement requires that Chestnut Street be extended northward as shown substantially on Exhibit B. So essentially what we're taking is existing Chestnut Street and extending it northward to a what is designed to be or proposed to be a roundabout to serve the entire development. And then also what this agreement calls for is a means of direct vehicular access between the cul-de-sac at the end of Lafayette Street and that extended Chestnut Street. And so this agreement does not dictate exactly where that MSP Parkway is supposed to be, but just provides that you should be able to get a car from the west side of the development to the east side of development through the development, and really affords maximum flexibility to a potential developer to design the internal traffic ways in a way that best suits the proposed development. There's some time frames that are contained in here in 17I. It calls for development to begin within 2 years after closing, and for infrastructure or improvements to start construction with 4 years, and to begin development means selection of a master developer. So those are some pretty aggressive timelines, but I think timelines that are highly meetable. So you know, it really points to the fact that both the city and the state want to see this project start moving pretty quickly. The gas chamber. The gas chamber and the area immediately surrounding the gas chamber will be retained by the state. That's not part of this conveyance, and so the state will retain ownership over the gas chamber, and then will be granted an easement for access to the gas chamber so they can maintain it, mow it, and whatnot. So the gas chamber will remain where it's at, and excuse me, and will continue to be held by the state, and I think contemplated to continue to be used on the prison tours. Until construction starts, the state is going to continue using that site for its current parking operation, and then that's really about it on the development agreement. If there's any specific questions, I would be happy to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Molman. Have any questions, Councilman Hesse?
Just a couple on the gas chamber in particular. It seems like if a developer were to approach us after the RFP and say, I don't want to include that in the development, I need it moved, is the state amenable to that, or what happens in those scenarios? Because and I know this has been a point of conversation, I think, through this process.
The state was pretty adamant that it wanted to keep the gas chamber where it was at, and that exact discussion was brought up, and I think the thought is that we want to see developers' very best ideas incorporating the gas chamber, and so I think that is our very first swing at redevelopment of this site. Should include the gas chamber sitting where it's at. As far looking into the future, and if that turns out to be infeasible, you can always amend a contract. But I think there's a real focus to keep the gas chamber in its original location.
Okay. I might disagree with the state on that, but that's just my opinion. For an RFP to go out to developers in that process, is that something that comes back to the council before it's issued, or is that something that goes through the community partners committee and then directly goes out?
Right. So when the MSP Community Partners Group was set up, if you take a look at that resolution, it calls for that group to be a recommending body, and the recommendations should go to the city council. Now, I will point out in this agreement, it calls for that of the 3 members, representatives from the state, at least 2 of those members have to agree with the recommendations of the MSP in order for it to move on to the city council. We're not anticipating that to be a problem.
Okay, that was another question.
It's a little bit of a quirk, an unusual type of thing, but the best way I can think about it is when we started this process, I think, at least myself personally, thought this be a situation where the state gives us the property and then we kind of go out into the wilderness on our own. And through this process, what I have found is that the state is very interested in being an active and continuing partner in this process. And so, if you take a look at development and the things they'd like to see and the continued participation that they would like to have throughout the development process, just not on this front end, says that they are actively interested in that. And so we thought that it was an appropriate designation for them to have to make sure that they're having the amount of input and insight into the process.
Okay. So you don't think that I'll trust your judgment on that. I mean, I could see a point where you get to a situation where the community partners, the city side, feels like there's a good development plan and that it fits well, but for some reason parties have changed at the state and you've got new players at the table, possibly who aren't as informed or want to see something different. I mean, in a 2 to 4 year time frame that this calls for,
it's I'm not going to lie to you, that's definitely a possibility, but I think in this scale of development, consensus building is really going to be really important. And so if you have that type of situation where part of the stakeholders want to go forward and another very significant part of the stakeholders aren't comfortable moving forward, and if you jump ahead in that process, leaving those concerned stakeholders behind, you're really kind of dooming your development to begin with. And so this forces that consensus building, really, and so I think is an appropriate step forward to make sure that everyone has sufficient buy-in when we get to some real major decision making in the future.
Final question on the RFP. I think you made the comment in your statement that ultimately you would kind of take this contract and share that as part of, to say, here's the primary uses, secondary uses. Do you anticipate the community partners group or somebody prioritizing those uses to indicate that there are preferred choices, or is it a blank slate? And if there is a prioritization, who prioritizes that?
Right. So the MSP Community Partners resolution sets forth a statement that when the community partners makes a recommendation, it is encouraged to look at specifically a recommendation that includes a conference center and make a statement that there is additional potential public funding available for a conference center. And so to the extent that there is a prioritization, that would be the limits of the prioritization that has happened already. So the community partners have been instructed, really study a convention center and let people know this is one of the things we are primarily interested at. If there is other prioritization for the other primary uses, that could either come from the community partners or it could come from the council itself, because ultimately the city council is the final decision maker on what that RFP is going to look like before it goes out to potential developers.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hensley?
I just have a few questions. First, on the right of reentry point, would it be your expectation that the city, the developer, the potential occupants would all work closely with the state at every step along the development path, providing sufficient notice so that we wouldn't ever flirt with bringing this part of the contract into action and risk losing the property?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's actually two parts in here that really address that. First of all, if there is a development that is, I'll say, questionable as to whether or not it complies with the program of development set forth in this agreement, the city can bring that to the state's attention, and they have 120 days to make a decision. Either A, yes, we think that is within the parameters of this agreement, or B, no. And if they don't act in that 125 days, it's deemed to be to fit the program of development and be in compliance with the agreement. So there's some triggers there that make sure that everyone is comfortable and up to date on what's going on with the development before we ever approach that kind of drastic measure where the state would take back.
Put those notices in writing.
Yes, yeah, in writing. And so and then also the right of reentry can be extended without amending the contract by 1 year. If for just cause, you basically say we need another year. OA can grant that without having to amend the contract itself. So there's some protections there that hopefully we won't ever get anywhere close to that being an issue.
Thanks. And just one more question: is there anything in this document or in any other item that might affect this deal that would prohibit us from seeking and obtaining an independent professional opinion regarding which uses may be most feasible for this site and which uses might not be feasible for this site?
No, there's nothing in here that would prohibit that.
Great, thank you.
Councilman Schreiber?
Yes, listening to some of the questions from Councilman Hussey and Councilman Hensley, these are some of the very same issues that came up several years ago before the MSP Redevelopment Commission. One being the issue of the gas chamber. It was discussed when John Landwehr, former Mayor Landwehr, was on that commission. It was discussed whether or not there was a possibility that the gas chamber might be moved. It was decided by the MSP Redevelopment Commission at that time, and all the individuals from the state, Office of Administration, and others, that it is best standalone where it is because of its historical significance. So that's basically no change from what was discussed at first. And we also see and thought all along that the partnership had to be between the state of Missouri, the city of Jefferson, and Cole County as stakeholders. And I think that this is exactly gone down that same path, and it's one that's could be very, very successful. We get one opportunity to do it right, and I think that I want to congratulate those individuals like yourself and the mayor, Turgeon, and others, Kathy Brown, and some of the other people on all the work that you put into this. And I think it's a very good product. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions? Councilman Fitzwater?
Just had a question on them parking the cars there. You'll address the liability issues when you come up with a nominal amount if the car is vandalized or if there's injuries or.
Yeah. When you have a contract between two governmental entities, the regular process when you would do contracting with private properties is a little bit different when you're assigning those types of liability responsibilities where both parties are covered by sovereign immunity. In large part, those liabilities are covered by sovereign immunity. So the concerns that would regularly be attendant with this type of arrangement really go away when you have the parties being the city and the state, who are both covered by sovereign immunity.
Thank you, and thanks for the presentation and the details. And I want to also take a moment to thank Senator Kehoe for his leadership getting this through session last year, and then our state reps, Representative Bernstetter, Barnes, and Fitzwater, all of our local reps that really rallied behind this to get it passed, and especially Senator Kehoe, and also the council support, because I know the council has voted over the last 3 years to move forward with different parts of this and engineering on the site and all kinds of parts to kind of get it together to where we are now. So really appreciating the work of that, and also in working with the state, very pleased that they want to continue their active participation as they are close neighbors to this, continuing to own 95 acres of the site. So looking forward to the future, and also as they have the historic area, the historic campus that the CVB contracts with to do very successful tours. So having the state's involvement, and there is an Exhibit B, I know, just to make it clear for those that would want to look at that. It is in the packet, but it does show the area you're talking about, which is does not include the historic buildings, but that is still, we look forward to partnering with the state on that with the map, and really that the city is mainly being just kind of a facilitator in getting this moving, such an important area in our community and our state, and really just getting it moving towards development and redevelopment, and looking at the revitalization like we talked about earlier of that entire area in Capitol Avenue and leading up to that. So the prison tours have been very, very successful, and having this potential project for this undeveloped land that's really like no other in our state is just such an exciting thing to be on the horizon. So just couldn't be more excited, and I think it's great that council gets to be a part of this and get this moving. So appreciate that, and I know that there is going to be a Missouri State Penitentiary Community Partners meeting scheduled, so I don't know if you want to mention that date.
Be May 25th, be at 9:30, and it'll be across the hall. May 25th.
And certainly open to the
Everybody's
public.
welcome.
And we appreciate you chairing that committee, Councilman Schreiber. Any other questions or comments on this bill? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we go to bills pending. Item 13, 2018-01.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a grant agreement between the City of Jefferson and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the purpose of conducting a master plan airport layout plan update for the Jefferson City Memorial Airport.
Mr. Marash.
Thank you. As clerk indicated, a grant agreement with MoDOT. And the purpose is to update our master plan agreement at the airport. The grant agreement's a 90-10 agreement, meaning the state would cover 90%, the city would cover the remaining 10% out of the sales tax, and the grant amount's just over $257,000. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Deliberation? Okay, roll call, please.
Graham.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Bill passes. 2018-02.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Jviation Incorporated for services associated with the Master Plan Airport Layout Plan update for the Jefferson City Memorial Airport.
Mr. Marash, anything to add?
Just the companion bill to the one before it, and Jviation's a company located here in Jefferson City, and glad to work with them on it.
Thank you. Any council questions or deliberation? Roll call, please.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Bill passes. Item 14, nothing on the informal. No resolutions on 15. Item 16, nobody signed up for presentations. Item 17, any council and staff discussion on presentation topics? Councilman Graham.
I have a question, Madam Mayor. Maybe you can answer, or some of my colleagues on the council. I noticed this past week that I had a orange sticker on my mailbox, and there are several other people in my neighborhood that had these orange stickers on their mailboxes. Not everybody had these orange stickers. I was asked, what are those stickers for? I have no clue or idea.
I'm going to ask Nicole, but I think
Can
it's if
someone
you
please-
subscribe to News Tribune, correct? Because we had those in our neighborhood too, and I am a subscriber to the News Tribune. I think that's how we figured it out. Is that? Do you hate to call on you like that, but is that right?
Yeah, as far as I know, it's to help with the people who are delivering papers, so they know who they need delivered to.
Okay, so for newspaper delivery.
Was that put in the newspaper, that this orange sticker will be put on mailboxes or whatever to identify that information? And the reason why I asked that, because a lot of people that I know took those stickers off because they didn't know where they came from. I was going to take mine off as well too, but I thought it was some type of lottery system or something, and
So
I was going to win some money.
to have
But I
them
think-
insert something in one of the
because I mean,
insert it in the paper, a little thing that says, by the way, we're putting a sticker on, and here's why.
yeah, because I mean, I walked
Maybe you'll
outside and
pass that
saw
on.
it, and
We'll put you on the spot. Okay.
you know,
Okay.
please do, because I mean, it's a lot of people taking those stickers off already, you know, because they didn't know what they were for. So, but thank you for answering my question.
Okay. Any other, Councilman Mahalovich?
Well, I want to welcome back the Browns to the council chambers. They've had some issues, and welcome back, and glad to see you in the front row. It was vacant for a while.
All right. Any other council and staff? All right. Any new business? 18. Let's see, item 19, approval of closed session minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 20, any unfinished business? And I'm not sure where to announce this. I probably should during my announcements, but I did want to mention this Friday there is a change of command ceremony on the USS Jefferson City taking place in Hawaii. So unfortunately, I can't be there. So, but it will be shown live on Facebook. So they will be showing that. So if you want to tune in, we will be looking forward to watching that, because we did have Commanding Officer Kevin Moeller here as part of the trip, and he will be changing command. So we wish him a very happy retirement from that. And if you want to tune in, that's this Friday. So item 21, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.